China. Ang huling punta ko po sa China was pre-pandemic. It was motorcycle related, of course. And before that, mga bandang 2010, turista mode naman po tayo doon. I was there usual, you know, the Great Wall of China, kain, shopping, lakad, all that stuff. So, just a quick background. I've always been amazed, or I always looked up to China when I was growing up. I was into the whole kung fu things, Jackie Chan. I got to learn about their traditional music, and of course, I'm into that too. So, marami sila nagawa, pati pagkain. Sarap, parang lahat na lang okay eh. So, when I finally got there, nakita ko na yung China na super developed na. You have to remember, in the 90s kasi, that's the only time they actually started to open their borders to do business. They said, you know, we gotta get our act together, we gotta move forward. Binuksan nila borders nila at doon na sila gumawa ng mga negosyo with other countries, nag-collab na sila. Back in the 80s, they were lost. There was nothing going on in China. The economy was awful. And then, all of a sudden, yun na nga, they decided, let's turn things around and look at where they are now. Talagang, what a super powerhouse of a country. So, nung tayo ay niyaya na ng QJ Motor to check out their factory, of course, I got excited. And if you're gonna invite media to check out your factory, obviously, meron ka talagang ipagyayabang. Meron kang gusto ipakita. One of the biggest manufacturers of motorcycles in the world. So, just a quick background, QJ Motors, kapartner po sila, their sister companies with Geely. Sila po ang may-ari ng Benelli. Kakahalubilo na rin po nilang Harley Davidson with their small displacement bikes. They have future collaborations with other brands as well. And the mother company, meron din silang ownership sa Mercedes-Benz. Basta ang laki-laki ng kumpanya nito. It's just a huge, huge company. So there you have it. Welcome to Makina Around the World. We are off to China to check out the QJ Motors factory. So para makarating sa factory nila, lalapag ka muna sa Shanghai. From Shanghai, you're gonna take their train, or they call it the rail. So magte-train po tayo papuntang Wenling. That's about 4 hours away. And mind you, we are almost 1,000 kilometers yung layo nun. I mean, layo nun. But we were traveling about 200 kilometers an hour, over 200 kilometers an hour. Super hataw, sobrang bilis. So nakuha lang namin in 4 hours yung distansya. So Wenling, kung nasaan yung factory, is part of a municipality called Taizhou. Ngayon, Taizhou naman is part of the province of Zhejiang. So yung sumalubong sa amin doon is of course yung marketing ng QJ Motors. Hello again.
Hello.
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 Okay.
Ni hao.
Ni hao. Follow me.
Sinakay kami, syempre, Geely, yung sasakyan, di ba? Fully electric vehicle. I mean, best foot forward agad. Produkto lang talaga nila yung ginamit namin at pinakita. So, straight at it, dinala kagad ako sa factory. Going into the factory, I'm already, nagwawaw na ako doon. I'm already raving. Wow! Very nice. To give you an idea of how big their facility is, we're talking about 10,000 square meters. Yan po yung halos ganyan yung laki po ng SMX Convention Center. Kung nakapunta kayo sa Makina Moto Show, ganon. That's how big their facility is. And ito yun ito yung nakakabaliw dito. They have 9 of those. Siyam po yung facilities nila across China. And we're talking about the facilities that are focused on 2 wheels. Wala pa dyan yung mga factories nila sa auto. So yung napuntahan ko, at least in this trip, are 2 different facilities. So this first facility, o yung first part na pinakita nila sa akin, was first the R&D department. Na nakakatawa, sabi, uy, R&D department, kasi bihira yan You know, they don't let you in the research and development area kasi top secret yun di ba? So tama nga, bawal mag-picture-picture. Kasi nung dumating ako doon, sabi ko, wow, ito na yan. Ito yung mga nakikita natin sa video pag nagde-design na sila ng motor. I-describe ko na lang kasi I can't show you what I saw, di ba? Bawal nga So nakaputi sila. There were a lot of mga pencil shavings on the floor, yung mga kahoy-kahoy. Medyo makalat yung room, and you can see the designers are all there in action. I think that in that particular room, there were about 7 designers, di ba? Meron silang parang ginagaya na design na from a computer screen, and they were sculpting the bike. Ginagamit nila yung clay na kulay brown. Alam mo, hindi ko nakikita yan in person, yung talagang eyeball. I only see that in videos. Sabi ko, okay to. Siyempre, palabas na ako ng camera. And then, no, you cannot. Okay, so, I can really only describe it to you. Plus, yung pinakita na sa akin nilang motor is supposed to be released year 2025, 2026. Thank you for showing me that part. Although hindi ko ma-video, but ganun talaga. So after that part naman, dinala po ako nila sa isang part ng factory, which is another, 10-minute walk. Laki kasi. Pinakita naman sa akin yung mga raw materials nila. We're talking about yung mga tubo pa lang. And yung mga tubo na ito, ibebend nila into handlebars.
So this is where it starts with the frame. As you can see, puro tubo pa lang sila dito. And then they're gonna be cutting it up, shaping it into the frame. But already you see, dito sila nagsisimula, diba? Talagang wala pang formang frame. Talagang tubo muna, and then they're gonna turn that into a frame. Amazing.
And they also showed me mga iba-ibang mga bakal nila para gawin nilang chassis. So, they were showing me na kaya nilang gawin everything from ground up. In fact, siguro kung kailangan nila outside suppliers, siguro yung mga anik-anik na maliliit, siguro yung mga screw, baka there's a bigger company in China that can just focus on making screws, nuts, and bolts. Pero yung pinaka-pag-shape ng motor, pati yung mga handlebars, wala, in-house lahat yun. They don't rely on anybody else to do it. After showing me the raw materials, they showed me how the chassis was formed and how they were doing the chassis. Dito natuwa din ako kasi, alam mo, when you're welding and you're forming a chassis, hindi naman siya parang custom builder na mano-manong kamay na isang bike lang gagawin. We're talking about, they're making thousands of bikes in a day. May level of consistency silang kailangan gawin, di ba? So, how to achieve that? Through robots and machines. It's really the only way to do it. They hooked up the chassis na machine, and the machine is rotating the chassis, tas papasok yung robotic arm at iba-welding siya.
So ang sinasabi po natin when we're talking about robot, yung welding, robotic siya, para consistent siya, di ba?
This will produce a level of consistency in the long run. Marami kang magagawa na consistent yung level ng mga welds. And nakita rin naman natin na maayos naman yung pagka-weld naman talaga ng machine. Siyempre, machine yan, di ba?
Na-assign dito sa paggagawa ng frame yung mga senior employees nila. Kasi napaka-importante ng frame para sa kanila. This is like it's the base of the bike. So hindi pwedeng basta-basta, hindi pwedeng may nagkakamali. Kailangan alam ng employee kung ano yung hinahanap nila in terms of watching out for the structural integrity of the frame. So again, we saw the robotics doing all the weldings, and you can see look at how clean that weld is. Parang talagang zhug.
But meron pa rin mga margin of error yung machines in the long term. So, meron pa rin pumapasok ng mga tao na nagsa-spot weld ng mga kailangan nilang ayusin. Little things. And this happens around the world. Not just in China. This also happens in Japan. The quality checker will check. Sabi, the machine skipped this part. Susundutin nila yan. Even in Germany, this thing happens, you know. As close to perfect as we want to get, even machines can have that small margin of error. Kailangan mo pa rin ng human intervention. Which is good to know. It goes to show na totok yung kumpanya kasi kina-quality check pa rin ng tao. So after nila mabuo yung chassis, they now showed me how the engine is formed. So pati yun ground up, di ba? They brought me into a room. It was huge. And meron mga hilera ng mga CNC machines. They were all in their little boxes. Para siyang scene sa Matrix, I'm telling you. It was an interesting sight.
Dito ako natutuwa kasi ito na yung manufacturing part ng planta nila. Hindi ito yung assembly part. This is literally them making stuff from raw materials rather. All of these things that you see right now, these are all CNC machines.
Of course, there were restrictions. I couldn't go that near. Pero dun sa mga ibang machines na they allowed me to take a video of, and you can see how it's done. So ground up din, di ba? They're making the machines from a block of aluminum, and then huhulmahin nila. It's being drilled. Meron water to cool the drilling or the shaping process para hindi mag-overheat yung material. So that's a friction.
So that just shows them, yung ganong klaseng efficiency nila na kaya nilang gawin lahat in-house. That's pretty amazing, I think.
Doon sa same facility doon, andyan yung makina, bubuhay na nila yung makina. Una yung tubo, bubuhay yung chassis, bubuhay na nila yung makina. In-house lahat yan. That has its own schedule. Paggawa na yan lahat, kompleto na yung mga electrical harnesses, all the other parts, yung seats, yung lights, electricals, all of that. Assembly line na tayo. Now, dito ngayon papasok yung pagka-China. Yung we're talking about people upon ang daming tao.
Wow, that's so cool. Look at that. It goes from that floor to the upper floor.
Now, when I got there, it was kind of the downtime. There were other things happening with the company, so it wasn't 100% production. They explained to me there are certain days now, okay, our requirement is to make 357 bikes. And then there's gonna be another day, order natin over 1,000.
Finelli, Leoncino, 150
Nice.
model, yeah.
So, whatever it is, kaya nilang gawin. So, they're making according to orders. QJ Motors is found in so many countries. One of their biggest clients, of course, is Africa. Huge population. Of course, QJ Motors, nasa Southeast Asia na siya. Humahalabilo na rin siya dyan. In South America, meron na rin presence ng QJ Motor. I saw QJ Motor come out in EICMA last year and I finally paid attention to their booth. Ang laki rin ng booth nila and they really are trying to gun to be out there in the world. QJ Motors, despite the long history of the brand, actually sila ay bago as QJ Motors. They've been doing a lot of manufacturing for other brands, but yung QJ Motors is just a few years. So you can already see, humahataw sila. They really want to catch up and, show their bikes to the world. Ika nga.
I'm in one of the floors here in the QJ factory. Just one. And ang laki na niya kagad. How many people are in here? 3,000 people are working on bikes. Everywhere I look, there's some sort of thing going on. I walk a few feet, it's another bike. I walk to the right, it's another bike. I go to the left, it's another bike. So ang dami nangyayari dito, nakakatuwa. Kaya ako nakakita ng gantong, that I was allowed to really get into the factory, really look at what's going on.
That is very amazing.
So where I am right now, they have 9 lines and it's very, very efficient kasi doon sa isang line, kaya nila bumanat ng mga commuter bikes. A few steps here to the right, biglang babanat sila ng mga adventure bikes, sport bikes.
Each line meron checker, which is good. So may taga-check na, tapos ka na, okay pa check. Okay, na-check ko na to, sign off, ikaw naman mag-check. So may nag-check dun sa nag-check, right? And then they also have facilities yung the usual, like revving, checking the engine before putting on the final panels. They have all of that down pat. So it's really, really world class.
So busy.
Somewhere in the process, of course, meron tayong finishing. That's also done with machines. Robotic yung nagsispray ng pintura para consistent. So they have that down pat as well. Yung mga mano-mano, I asked that sabi ko, sometimes you really have to do some hand painting things. You got some high-end cars na hand painted pa rin hanggang ngayon. And they said yes, they have skilled painters who also can spray by hand. So meron din silang ganun panundot kung kailangan, which is good. Ang nakakatawa dito, nagyaya sila. They have a new facility coming out in 2 years. They showed me the plans and how big it is and how nice it is and just how spacious it is. Looks like a little town. So itong tinitignan natin ngayon, ito yung bago nilang compound, ito yung bago nilang factory. At kung makikita nyo yung kanilang perspective, you can see this is a building right there. So you can see how huge this is. And kompleto, that's gonna be the factory plant nila. That's gonna be HQ. Look at all those buildings going on there. Ito yung test ride area nila. Look at that test ride area na meron sila dyan. Meron pa sila doon, sa dulo din doon. You got a lot of water going on there. Meron ka pa mga greens. What's gonna happen here in the green area?
Another factory.
Factory.
Another culture.
So they got a lot of land going on here. And how many years from now is this gonna be finished?
Maybe 2 or 3 years.
2 years later, finished.
Finish.
So that's gonna be really, really quick.
During that time, pinakita rin nila sa akin yung mga halubilo nila. Like they showed me yung mga Harley Davidson na gawang China. I've never seen this yet. This is the first time I saw it. And then they also showed me yung mga ibang variations ng Benelli kasi sila din may-ari ng Benelli. So now, apart from all of this, the manufacturing, the R&D, of course, it makes sense. Dun sa facility nila, there has to be a test ride course for them to try out their bikes, yung mga shocks. So pati yung test ride facility na nasubukan ko yung mga iba't ibang mga bagong labas nila na mga bikes doon. It was a complete experience for me. So why am I showing this to you? Why am I talking about China in such high regard? You know what? We are at the peak of the manufacturing industry, I feel. I mean, we are at a point in time wherein wala nang borders, wala nang line eh. What one country can do because of machines, because of technology, nagagawa na lahat eh. I'm saying this to you right now because this will help us kasi in buying as consumers. The stigma of China or Vietnam or Thailand or whatever country it is na napaparaning ka, dapat tanggalin na yung racism eh. It's not about the country anymore. You look into the brand, the facility, what are they doing? Sino yung mga kasama nila mga companies, sino yung mga kahalubilo nila, yan ang hahanapin natin, di ba? So, with this whole trip, it just cemented what I was already suspecting all along. You know, China is already up there in terms of manufacturing. They're upping the game. Is it up to par with the other European brands, American brands, Japanese brands? I would say in terms of volume, nako-compensate China, but in terms of quality at konti, meron din kalamangan yung iba. Pero, again, you're already in this level kasi ito mga brands na hinahangaan natin, ginagawa na rin ng China, ina-allow na nga nila China gawin yung brands nila, di ba? So, the next time you look at a bike and you say it's made in China, take that out of the equation na. Tignan nyo na yung motor. Tignan nyo na yung ano ba kaya ng motor. I-test ride yung motor. Subukan ninyo. Research kayo sa kumpanya. Who are these people behind it? Ako ba maubusan ako ng pyesa in 5 years? Is this a new fly-by-night brand? Ano ba to? Do your research. Don't worry about where it's made anymore. Be worried about the company. Hindi na yung race, diba? That's why I made this video. So again, QJ Motors, thank you so much for inviting me. That was a special treat. That was the first time I got to see a full-blown China factory na ganito ka-deep yung tinignan natin yung pagmamanufacturing nila. I thank you guys for that. Maraming salamat. This is Zach from Makina Around the World. Ciao.
Thanks for noticing.